Trigger warning. Ghosts, ghouls, and gruesome stuff ahead. It's weird. It's dark. It's your kind of vibe. Welcome to Haunted and Homicidal, the podcast where true crime meets the paranormal. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Courtney. Every week we uncover the terrifying, the twisted, and the totally unexplainable. Lock your doors and grab your sage.
Because things are about to get haunted and homicidal.
Ready?
You dropped it.
She's making a mess.
Come here. So, welcome back.
What's up?
How'd you like our 50th?
Woo!
I struggled hard.
I'm gonna have to start drinking wine with Sprite. That was good.
I told you. It's like the only way I can do. I mean, that wine, I like it by itself, but I really like it with Sprite. And I don't drink often. That one bottle of wine is probably going to last me a year.
Yeah, I told my sister, and she was like, that sounds good.
It is. It's really good. It's real good. I like it.
Because she likes wine, too.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm just not like really a big wine person. I prefer hard liquor if I'm drinking, but I just don't drink really. So this was a special occasion. Yeah.
Sushi tacos were good too.
Oh yeah, they're really good. I'm gonna do
The eggs were good too.
Yeah, I love sushi eggs.
I need to learn how to do those.
They're not hard. Yeah, I'm gonna do the crab rangoon filling next time with like the green onions and whatever. I'm gonna do that for dinner this coming Friday when he comes home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I guess we will go ahead and get into it because I have, y'all, this week I have long ones. Like they're both
I have short ones.
These are both very, very, very fucking long. So sorry, not sorry. You guys signed up for this literally.
Pretty much.
So we are going to talk about Jaycee Dugard. Some of you probably know who she is because this is a fairly recent case. It started a while ago, but like resolved recently, kind of like the one you just did last week. So, Jaycee was born May 3rd of 1980. She is a Taurus, so she was born 2 days before my daughter was, several years before, obviously, but
I thought it'd be like the same day.
not the same day. No. Like 30 years beforehand? No. Yeah.
Yeah.
20. 7.
Maybe.
So, whatever. She's a Taurus. She was born in South Lake Tahoe, California. Her parents were Ken Slayton.
Everything's California.
I know. California, it's very big and has a lot of eclectic people. So shit happens there.
This part's making me not want to go visit California.
That's like one of the places I've never wanted to visit anyway. My nephew is over there. I'm at 29 Palms in California. He's a Marine. So that's where he's stationed right now. But other than that, like I got nothing for California. So her parents were Ken Slayton and Terry Dugard. Terry and her biological father, Ken, had met while both were on a camping vacation in Arizona. So they were separate people, like each were on a vacation, not together.
Oh.
So like he was with his family, she was with her family. They made up like while they were at the camping ground. One thing led to another. They had a brief relationship. She got pregnant with Jaycee, and Slayton was not involved in her life at all whatsoever.
Okay.
So when Jaycee was 7, her mother remarried a carpet contractor named Carl Probin and gave birth to Jaycee's half-sister Shayna in 1990. In September of 1990, the family moved from Arcadia, California to Myers, which was a rural town south of South Lake Tahoe because of a break-in at their home that they were living in Arcadia, California. And they thought that the smaller town meant that it was going to be a safer community. They were wrong. Jaycee had stated that her stepfather was very abusive towards her as a child, as well as his mom was abusive towards her. But his sister, whom she only refers to as Aunt M, Jaycee's step aunt, was very kind to her. And Jaycee seemed to say that she like acted like she actually cared about her.
Aww.
Like she wasn't just there as like a placeholder. Like she actually tried to befriend and be kind to Jaycee. So there are 2 suspects in this case, like my last case apparently. Okay. Philip Garrido, he was born April 5th of 1951 in Pittsburgh, California. He had a serious motorcycle accident as a teenager, which could have been the source of his heavy drug use throughout his life. Family and friends did say that his behavior changed significantly after the accident. It was like he wasn't the same person anymore, which, I mean, can happen, especially if you have a TBI. So by the early 1970s, Garrido's behavior included troubling and criminal acts such as public masturbation, exposing himself, and allegedly stalking young girls. And then the second suspect is Nancy Garrido. She was born Nancy Bocanegra on July 15th of 1955 in Seguin, Texas. Or Seguin? That's a Q, though. So Seguin? Sure, there. That's where she was born, in that place. Philip and Nancy met through a family connection while he was incarcerated. She was visiting her uncle in prison, where Philip was also serving time for a prior rape and kidnapping. And here we go again with keeping these fucking people in jail. God damn it.
And for one, why would you freaking fall in love with that shit?
Anyway, the 2 began a relationship. They later married in 1981 while Philip was still in prison. So, like, she didn't even get, like, a dream wedding. She got a prison wedding.
What the hell?
After marrying Philip, she became a certified nursing assistant, caring for disabled adults.
He's disabled, all right.
This is scary. Like, those were 2 nurses in the last 2 stories that I did, and they go on to do some fucked up shit. On June 10th of 1991, Jaycee's mother, who worked as a typesetter at a print house, left for work early in the day. Jaycee had been waiting for her mom to give her a kiss goodbye. She didn't.
Yeah.
She didn't. Jaycee, who was 11 years old at the time, wore her favorite all-pink outfit as she walked up the hill from her house against traffic to catch a school bus. There was only like a week left before summer vacation, so she was like really excited because she had made plans with her friend Shawnee to work at a dude ranch over the summer because she loved horses, and her stepdad was like a dick. Yeah. So she felt like telling him, you know, I could work at the dude ranch and make some money might allow her to be away from him, you know, because he called her lazy, and he just was not a good person to her. So she was also excited about a water park field trip that was upcoming also for school, like their final field trip of the year. But she was self-conscious of her body, primarily her body hair, as she was reaching puberty. She had mentioned that, you know, she was going to talk to her mom about possibly shaving or whatever, but didn't get around to it. When she was halfway up the hill, a gray car approached her. She thought that the man driving the car was going to stop and ask for directions. The driver, who was Philip Garrido, rolled down the window and tased Jaycee unconscious with a stun gun before abducting her. Yeah. Jaycee was trying to fight back and trying to escape into some bushes. And while she was doing so, she recalls like wetting herself with the force of the stun gun. He then dragged Jaycee into the car. The wife, Nancy, covered Jaycee with a blanket and held her down as Jaycee drifted in and out of consciousness during the 3-hour drive back to their property, which was 120 miles away in Anatok. Jaycee pleaded with them to take the blanket off of her as it was excruciatingly hot. They eventually stopped and allowed Jaycee to take a sip of a drink, and Garrido stated that he got an extra straw so she didn't have to worry about getting his germs.
Okay.
Carl Probin, which was again her stepfather, witnessed the abduction from the home. He witnessed.
Are you telling me this man was home?
He saw 2 people in a mid-sized gray car.
And he didn't walk her to the fucking...
Possibly a Mercury Monarch, making a U-turn at the school bus stop where Jaycee was waiting, and a woman forcing Jaycee into the car. He chased after them on a bicycle, but was unable to overtake the vehicle.
Did he not have his own car?
Some of Jaycee's classmates were also witnesses to the abduction, but these are kids. Like, you can't expect them to do anything.
They're like, what the fuck?
Initial suspects included Probin and Ken Slayton, who was Jaycee's biological dad, remember from the beginning. Yeah. Though he and Probyn didn't know each other, and until the police reached out to him, he didn't even know he had a kid.
Damn,
Had
she didn't
no
even
fucking
tell him?
clue. She didn't even tell him.
What
Didn't
the
even,
hell?
and so that's why he was inactive in her life. She didn't even tell him. He had no clue.
That's kind of fucked up.
He had no clue.
That's kind of fucked up.
Yep. So Carl Probyn passed several polygraph tests, and Ken was also quickly cleared of any suspicion. The kidnapping did lead to the breakup of Terry and Probyn, which was her mom and her stepdad. So within hours of Jaycee's disappearance, local and national media on South Lake Tahoe covered the story. Within days, dozens of local volunteers assisted in the search effort, which involved nearly every resource within the community. Within weeks, tens of thousands of flyers and posters were mailed to businesses throughout the United States with pictures of her explaining what happened. If you see her, contact us. Since Jaycee's favorite color was pink, the town was blanketed in pink ribbons as a reminder of her disappearance and as a demonstration of support for her family by the community, similar to, who is it, Libby's mom, where they did the orange lights and, you know, all that. Terry Probyn founded a group called Jaycee's Hope, which directed the volunteer and fundraising efforts. Cassette tapes, can you believe? Cassette tapes of the song Jaycee Lee, along with t-shirts, sweatshirts, and buttons were sold to raise money for poster materials, postage, printing, and related expenses. Child Quest International and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children were involved in the effort. A reward was offered and was noted on the poster and flyers. The kidnapping case attracted nationwide attention and was featured on the June 14th, 1991 episode of the Fox television show America's Most Wanted. The ensuing years were a continuous effort of child safety awareness, fundraising events, and candlelight vigils, making Jaycee's disappearance, keeping her story in the public awareness. So now we're going to jump back into the kidnapping, what happened to Jaycee. Upon arriving at their home in an unincorporated area of Anatok, so fucking wilderness, they took Jaycee, her head still covered with the blanket, behind their house where they had constructed a series of dilapidated tents and sheds. Garrido showed Jaycee the stun gun that he used the first time on her when he kidnapped her and threatened to use it again if she misbehaved. They placed Jaycee inside a tiny shed that had been soundproof, so if she screamed, nobody could hear her. Jaycee was then handcuffed and left naked in the shed, which was bolted shut from the outside, warning her that trained Doberman pinschers outside the shed would attack and kill her if she attempted to escape. So she was fucking scared for her life. Yeah. Shortly after, Philip Garrido forced Jaycee into a shower with him, which was the first time Jaycee had been exposed to an unclothed man. He told Jaycee to touch him and to quote-unquote make him grow.
What the fuck?
He then shaved her armpits and legs and then her pubic region.
Wow.
Jaycee tried to negotiate her release by telling him that though her family doesn't have a lot of money, they would happily pay a ransom for her safe return. He didn't care. During her first week in captivity, Jaycee remained in handcuffs, and her only human contact was Philip Garrido, who sometimes brought her fast food and talked to her. He provided a bucket for her to use to relieve herself and a fan to keep the room cool. A week after the kidnapping, Garrido raped the still handcuffed Jaycee for the first time.
The poor girl.
He continually raped her, doing so at least once a week for the majority of her captivity. At one point, Garrido provided Jaycee with a television, but she was not allowed to watch the news and remained unaware of her search for her. So he was also basically telling her, like, nobody's looking for you. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
She was only able to watch infomercials and QVC and some late shows like, I don't know what was on back then. The guy with the hair. I don't remember his name. So almost a month and a half after her kidnapping, by Jaycee's own recollection, Garrido moved her to a larger room next door where she was handcuffed to a bed. He explained that the quote-unquote demon angels let him take her and that she would help him with his sexual problems because society had ignored him. At some point after her kidnapping, Garrido allowed Jaycee into the backyard. This is where Jaycee met the neighbor, a young boy named Patrick McQuaid, who had noticed her through the fence. He asked her what her name was, and she told him Jaycee. He asked if she was just visiting or if she lived there, and she told him that she lived there now.
She's like, I live here now.
Yeah. At that point, Garrido noticed the interaction and brought her back inside. He eventually built an 8-foot-tall privacy fence around the backyard and set up a tent for Jaycee. Garrido would occasionally go on days-long methamphetamine binges he called quote-unquote runs, during which he would force Jaycee to keep him company by performing sexual favors and engaging in various other acts with him.
Ew.
Such activities involved dressing her in differing items of clothing, masturbating him, performing oral sex on him, putting her into different positions, and having her dance on top of him while he masturbated himself.
This poor girl.
This is awful. Garrido made her listen out for the voices he said he could hear from the walls.
What the fuck?
And often professed a belief that he was a chosen servant of God. Like, she's like, I don't hear any fucking voices. You're fucking crazy. Just remember, she was like 11. She's 11 years old doing this. These binges would end with Garrido sobbing and apologizing to Jaycee, alternating with threats to sell her to people who would put her in a cage. 7 months into her captivity, Garrido introduced Jaycee to his wife Nancy, who brought Jaycee a stuffed animal and chocolate milk and engaged in the same tearful apologies to her. Nancy was just as manipulative as Garrido, altering between the motherly concern and coldness and cruelty, expressing her jealousy of Jaycee, whom she regarded as the one to blame for her predicament.
What the fuck?
You went with your husband to snatch a girl. Like,
exactly. Like, you can't
be jealous.
You can't be jealous.
The Garridos manipulated Jaycee further by presenting her on 2 occasions with kittens that would quote-unquote mysteriously vanish later.
Oh, no.
A parakeet named Sarge, who suddenly died, and a guinea pig that Jaycee had named Happy after the dog from 7th Heaven.
Aww.
But Nancy would call it Guinevere, even though it was a boy, just to, like, piss Jaycee off.
What the fuck?
When Garrido discovered that she was signing her real name in a journal that she kept about the kittens, she was forced to tear out the page with her name on it, which was the last time she was allowed to write or even say her name.
Oh, wow.
Garrido also expressed his desire to see his dog, Caesar, have sex with her.
Nope.
When Garrido was returned to prison for failing a drug test, Nancy pretty much replaced Garrido as Jaycee's jailer. So, during that time, like, she wasn't raped or anything like that.
Okay.
So, almost 3 years into her captivity, the Garridos began to allow Jaycee freedom from her handcuffs for periods of time, though they kept the door locked and bolted. On Easter Sunday of 1994, they gave her a home-cooked meal for the first time.
Aww.
The couple informed Jaycee that they believed she was pregnant. Jaycee, who was only 13 at the time, had learned the link between sex and pregnancy from television. Jaycee watched television programs on childbirth in preparation for the birth of her own daughter, which occurred when Jaycee was 14 on August 18th of 1994. After the birth of her first daughter, Garrido would rape her less frequently, though he would do it like when he had taken drugs. So that was like the main time that he was raping her. The last time Garrido raped Jaycee was the day after her second daughter was conceived. She was born when Jaycee was 17 on November 13th of 1997. So at this point, Jaycee had been with them for 6 years.
That poor girl.
Nancy told Jaycee that she and Philip would often go to the park and secretly videotape little girls playing. Nancy stated that she would have to sometimes make the little girls do the splits so Philip could record them with their legs open.
What the fuck?
And this was what was, quote unquote, helping him fight his urges to rape Jaycee or anybody else, and prevented him from further kidnapping and raping other little girls. This one's rough. I was having a struggle bus time. I had a whole struggle bus fleet on this one. It's rough. Yeah. Jaycee took care of her daughters using information learned from television and worked to protect them from Garrido, who continued his enraged rants and lectures. Nancy and Philip both worked, but once they were home, like, they didn't help with the kids at all.
Even though he fucking laid it for...
Jaycee coped with her continued captivity by planting flowers in the garden and homeschooling her daughters. At one point, Garrido informed Jaycee that to pacify his wife, Jaycee and her daughters were to address Nancy as their mother, and that she would teach her daughters that Jaycee was their older sister.
That's fucked up.
When Jaycee and her daughters were eventually allowed to come into contact with other people, the fiction was continued. Garrido operated a small print shop where Jaycee acted as the graphic artist. Ben Dodrill, a customer of Garrido's printing business, claimed that he had met and spoke by telephone with Jaycee and that she did excellent work, but like there were no indications that anything was wrong. Witnesses had stated that Jaycee was seen in the Garrido household and sometimes answered the front door to talk to people, but never stated there was a problem. She never tried to leave. While the family kept to themselves, the girls were sometimes seen playing in the secondary backyard behind the house where Jaycee's living quarters are thought to have been located. The private area of the backyard included sheds, one of which was used for a recording studio in which Garrido recorded himself singing religious-themed and romantic country songs.
Oh my God.
2 homemade tents and what has been described as a camping-style shower and a toilet were also on the property.
Mm-hmm.
The area was surrounded by tall trees and a tall fence. An entrance to a secondary backyard was covered by trees and a tarpaulin, which is basically like a tarp. It was covered by a tarp. Privacy was enhanced by the tents and the outbuildings, so he specifically had these in an arrangement to hide, like, nobody could see people. Electricity was supplied by extension cords. The enclosure also housed a car that matched the description of the one used in the abduction. So let's talk about some of these missed rescue opportunities, because there were several. Law enforcement officers visited the residence at least twice, but did not ask to inspect the backyard and did not detect the presence of Jaycee or her children. Police failed to realize that Jaycee had been kidnapped south of South Lake Tahoe, which was the same location as the kidnapping and rape of Catherine Calloway Hall in 1976, who is the little girl he was in jail for when he met Nancy. Kidnapped in the exact same place. On April 22nd of 1992, less than a year after her kidnapping, a man called the Contra Costa County Sheriff's Department from a gas station less than 2 miles from the Garrido's home, reporting that he saw Jaycee inside the gas station staring intently at a missing child poster of herself. The caller reported seeing her leave in a large yellow van, possibly a Dodge. An old yellow Dodge van was later recovered from the Garrido's property that matched the description of the van given in the call. The license plate was not reported in the initial call, unfortunately. The caller, the girl, and the van were gone by the time the police arrived. The caller never identified himself, and the police did not investigate further.
They should have.
Contradicting the story, however, Jaycee has reported that she never left the Garrido's property from the day she was kidnapped until shortly before her first child was born in 1994. So I was like kind of thinking about this, like, how would they know?
Mm-hmm.
I think Philip called the police on himself. Like, I really think that's what happened.
I mean, he's crazy. He probably did.
Yeah, I'm thinking
on
like
them
that's,
voices.
Like that's what happened. Like he called and
got
everybody in an uproar, you know, and he was like, "Peace out, Girl Scout," and he went back home, and like nobody cared about it after that. So in June of 2002, the Anatok Fire Department responded to a report of a juvenile with a shoulder injury that occurred in a swimming pool at the Garrido's home. This information was not relayed to his parole officer, who had no record of either a juvenile or a swimming pool on the property. In 2006, one of Garrido's neighbors called 911 to inform them that there were tents in the backyard with children living there, and Garrido was, quote, psychotic with sexual addictions. A deputy sheriff spoke with Garrido at the front for about 30 minutes and left after telling Garrido that there would be a code violation if people were living outside on the property. But they didn't fucking check.
They fucking should have checked.
Didn't check the house, didn't check the property. He stood outside in the front yard talking for 30 minutes and left.
Would they need a warrant to do that, though? Like,
not if he's on parole.
Okay.
When you are on parole, they can show up at any time, check anything. You sign this fucking rights away when you sign those parole documents. Point blank, period.
Should have checked.
Yep. On November 4th of 2009, the California Office of the Inspector General issued a report that enumerated lapses by the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation that had contributed to Jaycee's continued captivity. The central finding was that Garrido was incorrectly classified as needing only low-level supervision, and all other lapses derived from that mistake. In his report, the Inspector General detailed an instance in which a parole agent encountered a 12-year-old girl at the home but accepted Garrido's explanation that she was, quote-unquote, his brother's daughter, and the agent did nothing to verify it, even though a call to Garrido's brother verified he didn't have a fucking child.
They should. Oh, these people piss me off.
On August 24th of 2009, Garrido visited the San Francisco office of the FBI and left a 4-page essay containing his ideas about religion and sexuality, suggesting that he had discovered a solution to problem behaviors like his past crimes. The essay described that he had cured his deviant behavior and how that information could be used to assist in curing others, sexual predators, by, quote, controlling human impulses that drive humans to commit dysfunctional acts. So, no.
No.
Mm-mm. And I read that 4-page essay, so we'll talk about that later. I read it so you don't have to.
Okay.
On the same day, Garrido traveled to the University of California, Berkeley, which is UC Berkeley, with Jaycee's 2 daughters and visited its campus police seeking permission to hold a special event as part of his quote-unquote God's Desire program, which was the 4-page essay he dropped off with the FBI, okay? He spoke with special events manager Lisa Campbell, who perceived his behavior as quote-unquote erratic and felt that the girls were, quote, sullen and submissive. She asked Garrido to make an appointment the next day, which he did, leaving his name in the process. Thank God for this woman. Thank God for this woman. She is very integral in all of this ending. Officer Allie Jacobs ran a background check and discovered that Garrido was a registered sex offender on federal parole for kidnapping and rape. Garrido and the girls returned for their appointment at 2 p.m. The following day, and Jacobs attended the meeting. The girls appeared to Jacobs to be pale, as if they had not been exposed to sunlight, and she also felt that their behavior was unusual for children of that age. Garrido's several parole violations were a basis for an arrest, so Jacobs phoned the parole officer to relay her concerns, leaving a report on the voicemail. After hearing Jacobs' recorded message, 2 parole agents drove to the Garrido's home later that day. Upon arrival, they handcuffed Garrido and searched the house, finding only his wife Nancy and his elderly mother. The parole agents then drove him to the parole office. En route, Garrido said that the girls who had accompanied him to UC Berkeley, quote, were the daughters of a relative, and that he had permission from their parents to take them there. Although the parole office had previously barred Garrido from associating with minors, and Berkeley was 40 miles from the Garrido's residence limit, he was allowed to travel from his home without his parole agent's permission. Nothing was done about those violations.
The fuck?
Not even a slap on the wrist. It was just like reported, okay, bye, click. They didn't care.
Fucking bullshit.
Garrido arrived at the parole office in Concord, California on August 26th with Nancy, the 2 girls, and Jaycee, who was introduced as Alyssa. The parole officer decided to separate Garrido from the women and girls to obtain their true identification. Maintaining her false identity as Alyssa, Jaycee told investigators that the girls were her daughters, so they didn't keep up with that facade of it being Nancy's children. Although she indicated that she was aware Garrido was a convicted sex offender, she stated that he was a quote-unquote changed man, a quote-unquote great person, and was quote-unquote good with her kids. And these comments were echoed by the 2 little girls. And he actually was good with the girls.
Yeah.
Like, he never hurt them. He never touched them. He actually genuinely was like a father. It is their father, but he
Could
leaned
Nancy
into
not
that
have
role.
kids? Is that why?
I don't remember if we talk about that or not. I don't remember.
Okay.
It's been a while since I did this research.
Okay.
When pressed for details that would confirm her identity, Jaycee became, quote, extremely defensive and agitated, demanding to know why she was being interrogated because she was not the one in trouble, right? And subsequently stated that she was a battered wife from Minnesota. Don't you know? In hiding, what? In hiding from her abusive husband.
She had a whole ass story. Good Lord.
They beat it into her,
This poor
basically.
girl.
The police officer eventually called the Concord police. Upon arrival of a Concord police sergeant, Garrido admitted he had kidnapped and raped Jaycee. Only then did she properly identify herself as Jaycee Dugard.
Well, yeah, because she went so long with them beating out of her that she can't go by JC.
Right. She later stated that she resisted initial questioning out of fear that her children would be taken from her.
Aww.
So that was like the biggest thing. Like, she didn't want to make waves because she did not want to lose her babies. It was later suggested that Jaycee showed major signs of Stockholm syndrome, which
I mean, because she was.
Yes, she did.
Because he had her for how long?
I think it was like 18 years.
That's so long.
Yep, that's fucking wild, right? Garrido and his wife were placed under arrest. An FBI agent put Jaycee on the phone with her birth mother, Terry Probin. Jaycee retained custody of her children and reunited with her mother on August 27th of 2009.
Aww.
She went missing in 1991.
That's terrible.
18 fucking years. 18 years. Following his arrest, police searched the Garrido's house extensively for evidence of other crimes because Garrido had access to his neighbor's house for what the fuck ever reason. It was also searched for evidence. Police also searched the home and business of one of Garrido's printing business clients because he had mentioned that he had come in contact with Jaycee. Police agencies from Hayward and Dublin, California conducted searches of the Garrido's property for evidence pertaining to the missing girl from those communities, but didn't find anything. In July of 2011, Hayward police announced that Garrido has not been eliminated as a suspect and is still a person of interest in the abduction case of Michaela Grecht, who was kidnapped in 1988 about 55 miles away from Garrido's Anatok home. They found no evidence, but likely it's possible it could have happened because that was 3 years prior to Jaycee.
Yeah.
On the property, detectives found multiple sheds and makeshift buildings that were not permitted or registered, so illegal. A soundproof enclosure Philip referred to as the compound, which is where he hid the 3 girls.
Yeah.
Plywood walls, tarps, and doors designed to block visibility and sound. So he thought this out well.
He did.
Structures deliberately arranged to avoid detection from neighbors or aerial views. Bedding, mattresses, and blankets were found in these structures, along with clothing of Jaycee's and the 2 young girls. Children's toys, books, and personal items were also located, along with food and cooking equipment. This evidence that the area was actually lived in and not just a setup. It wasn't temporary.
Yeah.
This is where they lived. They also found locks, latches, and padlocks on doors, evidence that doors could only be opened from the outside, makeshift walls that could be reconfigured to restrict movement, so false walls that could be moved to make the space smaller to control the victim. Evidence that Garrido monitored the compound. He had bells and alarms rigged to alert him if someone moved or approached the property so he could clean up, hide whatever he needed to. But it also gave him control of Jaycee and the children because they couldn't get out either without him knowing it. Evidence that the children were born and raised on the property without any sort of medical assistance. Even though her second daughter was born with like a really big bump near her eyebrow.
Oh, wait, does she still have it?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. No birth certificates were ever located.
That's why Nancy became a nurse. So they could do this shit.
They were never located because, again, it had been home births and it wasn't ever reported to the Department of Health or anything like that. And they also never went to the hospital, so they had no record.
Good thing nothing's bad.
On August 27th of 2009, KCRA-TV in Sacramento interviewed Garrido in his jail cell by telephone. During the interview, Garrido said, quote, "In the end, this is going to be a powerful, heartwarming story."
How the fuck?
Because in his version of events,
oh God,
quote, "My life has been straightened out. Wait till you hear the story of what took place in this house. You're going to be absolutely impressed. It's a disgusting thing that took place with me at the beginning, but I turned my life completely around."
Bruh.
Garrido repeatedly told the reporter how he, quote, "filed documents with the FBI on August 24th, 2009, which, when they were published, would cause people to, quote, fall over backwards, and that he could not reveal more because he, quote, had to protect law enforcement, and, quote, what happened was something that humans have not understood well." You know, you're fucking right.
The hell?
critically thinking, decent humans do not understand
Yeah.
kidnapping and rape. You're fucking right about that. In the interview, Garrido denied that he had ever harmed Jaycee's 2 daughters. He said their births changed his life, saying, quote, "They slept in my arms every single night since birth. I never touched them," like in a bad way. And
I really hope you fucking end it.
that's been the truth. Like,
Yeah.
Jaycee has come out and said, like, he was actually really good to my daughters. Always brought them toys and food and all kind of stuff. On August 28th, 2009, FBI spokesman Joseph Shadler confirmed that Garrido had indeed left the documents with the FBI as he claimed, but declined to discuss further details. The document titled "Origin of Schizophrenia Revealed" was eventually released by the FBI. It is about stopping schizophrenics from turning violent and controlling sounds with the human mind. Again, I read it, so you don't have to. So here's a general summary of the material. In the first part, he provides a call to action requesting that all victims of quote-unquote voices to come forward and tell their stories for the first time. There are several signed, dated, and witnessed affidavits from Philip and others who indicate that Philip was able to control sound or voices that were, quote, unearthly in nature with his mind.
What the fuck?
It continues with religious and biblical mentions of, quote, speaking in tongues, quoting 1 Corinthians 1:20-25, quote, "God was pleased through the foolishness of what was preached to save those who believe, but we preach Christ crucified, a stumbling block to Jews and foolishness to Gentiles," end quote, along with 2 other excerpts from Corinthians and 1 from Mark. The Garrido narrative argues that schizophrenia originates not as a biological illness, but as a psychological fracture caused by extreme trauma, particularly during childhood. Again,
What is he, like, secretly smart or something? Or
he seems like... Now, see, the main problem with people like this, they are typically highly intelligent.
Yeah. Okay.
Highly fucking intelligent. Okay. They're just also psycho. So, again, this is kind of like where they are considering that motorcycle accident he had when he was a kid kind of did psychologically change him with TBI or whatever.
That really did fuck us up.
According to this view, the mind, quote, splits as a defense mechanism when a person is exposed to prolonged fear, abuse, or emotional terror. Hallucinations and delusions are framed as the brain's attempt to create meaning, protection, or alternate realities when reality itself becomes intolerable. This explanation suggests that voices are not random misfirings of the brain, but internalized representations of abusers, authority figures, or unresolved emotional conflicts. Delusions in this framework are said to be symbolic narratives created by the subconscious to maintain control, identity, or safety. Schizophrenia is portrayed less as an illness and more as an extreme survival adaptation gone wrong. So that was his theory.
Okay.
It is very possible.
It's very possible, yeah.
It's very possible. Although, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing because there have been children who are 3 years old diagnosed with schizophrenia. There's one, her name is like January or Janny, and her brother is also diagnosed schizophrenic, and they were diagnosed as infants, toddlers. It's crazy. So it's not always, but it could provide more insight. I mean, it doesn't sound out of the realm of possibilities to me.
Yeah.
So the theory often emphasizes that suppressing symptoms with medication alone is harmful, claiming that healing requires uncovering and resolving the original trauma. It typically criticizes psychiatry for medicalizing suffering rather than addressing emotional roots, and it implies that schizophrenia could be reversed if the underlying psychological damage were properly treated. But sometimes that proper treatment is medicine.
Yeah.
Okay. So... And why this matters is because while trauma can absolutely influence mental illness, the Garrido framing is oversimplified and misleading. Modern psychiatric research shows that schizophrenia is a complex neurodevelopmental disorder involving 1, genetic vulnerability, 2, brain chemistry and structure differences, 3, prenatal and early life biological factors, and 4, environmental stressors, including trauma, but not exclusively.
Yeah.
Trauma may worsen symptoms or affect how schizophrenia presents, but is not considered the sole cause. And many people with schizophrenia have no history of severe trauma, like I was saying. There are children who are diagnosed schizophrenic who...
How do you diagnose a 3-year-old, though?
Mannerisms, behavior.
Oh, okay. Or like an infant, like... Okay.
Mannerism. Look, you have to look her up. There's documentaries on her. It's wild. Her and her brother are both schizophrenic. It's crazy. Because like when she was a toddler, infant, not even walking or crawling, she would just like follow things with her eyes. You know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There are ways for diagnosis, but it's uncommon to say the least. Likewise, hallucinations and delusions are not reliably symbolic or trauma-coded in the way this theory suggests. So there could be, like, other reasons people are hallucinating or having delusions. It might not just be schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Most importantly, the Garrido narrative is often criticized because it romanticizes or misrepresents schizophrenia, discourages evidence-based treatment, and is sometimes promoted by individuals with no clinical or scientific authority. I think it's probably going to be a culmination of all of the things together. Medication, I think, is a very strong, reliable way to help
she's so
maintain.
Tired. She didn't even get up when Dixie barked.
She usually doesn't. She knows the bark. She did get up when my mom got here, though. So
she did.
Yeah. On August 28th, on August 28th of 2009, Garrido and his wife pleaded not guilty to charges including kidnapping, rape, and false imprisonment. The case was prosecuted in El Dorado County by elected DA Vern R. Pearson and Assistant DA James A. Clinchard. A bail review / pre-preliminary hearing was held September 14th of 2009 at the El Dorado Superior Court. After the hearing, Superior Court Judge Douglas Fimster set bail for Nancy at $30 million. The judge initially kept Nancy in custody on a no bail hold. There was a no bail hold placed on her husband, Garrido. Fimster also granted a request from Garrido's attorney to have a psychologist or psychiatrist appointed to conduct a confidential evaluation. Such examinations can be used by the defense to assist in the case preparation, and additional mental health examinations can be ordered at subsequent phases in the proceedings if they're doing a insanity plea.
Okay.
On October 29th of 2009, a short hearing was held to set a date for the next pre-preliminary hearing when issues such as discovery were to be discussed. So discovery is basically providing everything that the defense has on the case to the prosecution, vice versa. The hearing, that way, like, there are no surprises. They're prepared.
Okay.
That's how that works. This hearing occurred on December 11th of 2009. Katie Calloway Hall, whom Garrido kidnapped and raped in 1976, appeared in the courtroom at the October.
So did he let her go, or did she like get away that he didn't keep
He did not keep her. He just took her, raped her, released her.
Okay.
And that's what he had been initially in jail for when he met Nancy.
So then why did he keep Jaycee for so fucking long?
Because according to him, he wanted to stop his impulses.
The poor girl.
Yeah. So, she was present in the courtroom October and December, though she didn't speak at all during either proceeding. She was just there. On November 5th of 2009, Fimster...
Probably in her head, she's like, this could have been me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she probably had, like, survivor's guilt, too, you know. They tend to. On November 5th of 2009, Fimster ordered Nancy's defense attorney, Gilbert Maines, to be removed from the case. According to a posting on the court's website, the decision occurred in a review of, quote, confidential evidence that had not been disclosed to the public, and details of the proceedings were kept sealed.
Wait, why'd they remove him?
You don't really find out.
Oh, okay.
You don't really find out. The decision was delayed until November 3rd of 2009. On November 12th of 2009, Fimster appointed Stephen A. Tapson as interim counsel for Nancy. Gilbert Maines appealed the decision and received a favorable ruling by the California 3rd District Court of Appeal on December 15th of 2009. So he was put back on her case.
Okay.
On December 22nd of 2009, the same court gave the El Dorado Superior Court until January of 2010 to respond to the ruling. Both Gilbert Maines and Steve Tapson appeared at the discovery hearing on December 11th, 2009. So her hired attorney and then the one that was appointed for her, both were there. Oh, so cold on my teeth. At a press conference, at a press conference on February 28th of 2011, Tapson said that Nancy and Philip Garrido had both made a, quote, full confession in the case. The development came as lawyers for both sides reopened discussions on a possible plea deal that had the potential to obviate the need for a trial, which is usually what happens when you make a plea deal. You plea out so you don't go in front of a jury. Nancy's attorney acknowledged that she was facing, quote, 241 years, 8 months to life, and that he was working for a reduced sentence in the 30-year range. He stated that the prosecutor had acknowledged that Philip was a master manipulator and that Nancy was both under his influence and that of substances provided during the period of Jaycee's kidnapping, so the meth. So she should receive some consideration while alluding to parallels with kidnapped victims Patty Hearst and the Stockholm Syndrome. On April 7th of 2011, instead of pleading guilty, as he had been expected based on previous statements, the Garridos pled not guilty to charges of kidnapping and raping Jaycee, as well as other charges in an amended grand jury indictment. Philip's attorney, public defender Susan Gelman, alleged that the grand jury might have been selected improperly and might have acted improperly. Gelman did not elaborate on her claim in the courtroom, but said outside that she had questions about the racial and geographic makeup of the grand jury that originally indicted the Garridos back in September of 2010.
What?
They're just pulling straws.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Judge Phimister noted that there were issues about the process itself before the grand jury and also stated that the court would consider whether the grand jury acted appropriately. These developments were largely unforeseen by attorney Stephen Tapson, who represented Nancy, the one that the judge put in place. Tapson had said earlier that week that Philip had made a deal with prosecutors to plead guilty and spend the rest of his life in prison. Gelman, again, which is Philip's attorney, was upset with Tapson for telling reporters that her client had planned to plead guilty, saying that he should only speak about his own client, which is true. Like, mind your fucking business. I got this.
Exactly.
Tapson said he found out about Gelman's plans only late on April 6th. Neither attorney would elaborate further on the specific concerns about the grand jury. El Dorado DA Vern Pearson said he did not think the complaints about the grand jury would ultimately derail the case against the Garridos. So on April 28th, 2011, the Garridos did plead guilty to kidnapping and rape by force. On June 2nd of 2011, Philip was sentenced to 431 years to life imprisonment. Nancy was sentenced to 36 years to life imprisonment, which would allow her to be eligible for parole in August of 2029. 3 years from now.
No.
3 fucking years from now.
No.
Philip was imprisoned in California State Prison, in Corcoran, while Nancy was incarcerated at Central California's Women's Facility in Chowchilla, which is where the other Bundy, Carol, was at. Fucking crazy. I wonder if they know each other. No, they wouldn't have. They wouldn't have because
she died
in 2003. Yeah. Jaycee did not attend the sentencing for either of them.
I wouldn't either.
But instead, she sent a written message with her mom to read aloud in court during victim statements. As Garrido had been on parole for a 1976 rape at the time of the kidnapping, Jaycee sued the state of California, which had taken over his parole supervision from the federal government in 1999, on account of the numerous lapses by law enforcement during instances in which her captivity should have been discovered by them, which we talked about earlier.
Fucking should have. So
they should have fucking found her.
So good for her pursuing their asses.
Yep. In July 2010, the state of California approved a settlement of $20 million, which would be $28 million now, with Jaycee to compensate her for, quote, various lapses by the Corrections Department that contributed to Dugard's continued captivity, ongoing sexual assault, and mental and or physical abuse. So they did a $20 million settlement.
Good.
The settlement part of AB 1714 was approved by California State Assembly by a 70-2 vote. I want to know who the fuck those two are that said, no, we're not going to pay this girl. I want to know who the fuck that is. and by the California State Senate by 30-1. And I want to know who the fuck that one is. There are 3 people out of 100 that said no.
Like why?
3 out of 100 that said
like this
no.
chick could have been saved so much earlier.
Yeah.
If y'all people did your fucking jobs.
Exactly. So the bill was signed by California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. He'll be back.
Yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
On July 9th. So on September 11th of 2011, Jaycee filed a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California, accusing the United States of failing to monitor Philip while he was a federal parolee.
Yes.
Jaycee stated in her lawsuit against the federal government that parole officials should have revoked Garrido's parole and returned him to prison for any number of the parole violations that preceded her abduction, including testing positive for drugs and alcohol.
Yes.
That's normally how it goes. That is typically the route that they take. You violate your parole, you go back to jail. They didn't care.
Fucking should have. So yeah, good for her for suing people.
On May 15th of 2016, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit dismissed Jaycee's civil claims under the Federal Tort Claims Act. In a 2-1 decision authored by Judge John B. Owens, the court ruled that the federal government's sovereign immunity was not waived because the U.S. is only liable, quote, in the same manner and to the same extent as a private individual under like circumstances under the state law. In this case, because the U.S. would not be liable under California law, Jaycee could not prevail on her FTCA claim. So they're saying because you couldn't do this in California where the state law is, it can't be done here either.
What?
The majority's rationale was that Jaycee had not been victimized by Garrido at the time he was placed under federal parole supervision, which is true.
Yeah.
And, quote, there was no way to anticipate she would become a victim, which I get it.
Yeah.
But they should have known he was likely going to be a repeat offender because he had already proven he was a repeat offender.
Exactly.
And thus, federal authorities in California had no duty to protect her or other members of the general public from him. Are you fucking kidding me?
The fuck?
Chief DA Judge William Smith again dissented, stating that he believed that the majority misinterpreted California law, and the cases cited by the majority only involved FTCA liability in rehabilitation centers, and there were good legitimate grounds to hold the government liable. So the DA was like, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I think you guys are fucking responsible too.
Exactly.
It didn't matter. They said no. So, in November of 2022, so just 3 years ago, Philip Garrido's former parole officer, Edward Santos Jr., who had retired in December of 21, broke his silence by speaking to Sacramento's KCRA-TV. Santos stated that he was not permitted to relate his version of the events that led to the arrest of the Garridos and Jaycee's rescue, saying, quote, I wish the state of California would have allowed me to speak. I was told not to speak to anybody at all. Just keep quiet. Don't say anything, and hopefully you'll keep your job. That's the way I always felt.
Mm-hmm.
Santos stated he had thoroughly searched the Garridos' house and backyard and found no trace of Jaycee. There's no fucking way. He also stated
have had like some secret spot he like would hide them.
Yeah, but you would have still seen the cooking equipment, the toys, all the stuff that shouldn't have been there because the only people that were listed as living in the home were him and his wife. There's no way. He also stated that his actions on the day of Philip's arrest were key to Jaycee's rescue, as he visited the Garrido home after hearing about the 2 young girls who were seen with Garrido on the UC Berkeley campus and demanded to know their whereabouts. When Philip said that they had been picked up by their father, Santos ordered Garrido to appear at Santos's office with them the following morning with their parents, which is what we talked about. That's how they separated everybody and got the truth. And when they showed up with Nancy that morning and gave conflicting stories about the girls' identities, Santos persistently questioned them and Jaycee. Santos said that if he had not done this, Jaycee's identity would not have been discovered, which I believe that. I believe that 100%. Santos insisted that he did his job, but regretted not having found Jaycee when he first visited the Garrido home, and also publicly apologized to Jaycee for not having spoken to her after his initial interviewing of her, during which he had treated her as if she were a suspect rather than a victim, or at least that's the way Jaycee felt about it. The California Department of Corrections confirmed to KCRA-TV that Santos had been a parole officer with the agency, but would not confirm that he had been Phillips' parole officer, quote, due to safety and security issues and the multiple investigation and reviews after the arrest of the Gyarados. So they would yeah, he worked here, but we can't tell you he worked for this.
Yeah.
This guy was his detainee.
Yeah.
So Jaycee Dugard documented her life in captivity in a book. It's called A Stolen Life, a memoir, which she wrote as part of her therapy with Rebecca Bailey, which I listened to on Audible, so you don't have to. Jaycee herself actually spoke the book. And Rebecca Bailey specializes in post-trauma family reunification. Jaycee says she wrote the book, which was published in July of 2011 to assist other survivors of sexual abuse. Initially, when she was first rescued, she was adamant that there was not ever going to be a book because she didn't want to relive any of her trauma. It is 7.5 hours long, and it is absolutely gut-wrenching. Jaycee and her daughters have been out of the public eye for many years and are still healing from their traumatic experiences. And both convicted offenders are still alive and still in prison.
They need to be dead.
So I want to touch a little bit on her memoir. It is horrible. Like, she details every sexual encounter. She details the birth of all of her children. She details the kittens and how they go missing. She details what happened with the bird.
What happened with the bird?
He died. Just like all of a sudden. So like they don't know, like she doesn't know like if they were poisoned, like intentionally to be ripped away from her to kind of keep control. But I will link it if you guys are interested, and I'll also link his stupid little his little FBI bullshit. But yeah, that oh boy, it was rough.
Well, I also have a kidnapping.
Okay.
I have the Lindbergh kidnapping.
The Lindbergh baby. Oh,
the Lindbergh baby.
This was more than a kidnapping.
I know. So, on a sprawling 390-acre property tucked into the quiet countryside outside Hopewell, New Jersey, Charles Lindbergh and his wife Anne sought refuge from the relentless public attention that followed the aviator's groundbreaking solo flight across the Atlantic.
I was waiting for you to take a breath.
The way you look at me when you do it, too.
I was just waiting. I was like, okay, she's going to stop talking.
And so they hoped the isolation would provide peace and privacy. Because it was like, they need a break. He's like, I need a break, man. Like, leave me alone.
It was 300 and how many?
390 acres.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That hope was shattered. It's like she's out, but she's like looking at you.
Come on. I want her to get up. Come on.
She's like, I don't want to.
Come on.
She's like, Mama, I'm
oh,
tired.
big stretch arms. Come
Like,
on,
Mama,
baby.
I'm tired. Here, hand me one so I can try. In 1932, a devastating crime unfolded. One that shocked the entire country and thrust the Lindbergh family into a prolonged media frenzy, turning their personal tragedy into a national obsession for months on end. Oh. On the evening of March 1st, 1932, at approximately 9 p.m., Charles Augustus Lindbergh Jr., the 20-month-old son of Charles Lindbergh and Anne Morrow Lindbergh, was abducted from his second-floor nursery. The fact that it was on the second fucking floor.
Yep. At
the family's home near Hopewell, New Jersey. The child was discovered missing around 10 p.m. when his nurse, Betty Gow, went to check on him and alerted the parents who were present in the house. A frantic search of the home and surrounding grounds began immediately. That's like fucking 390 acres worth of looking.
Yeah. That's so much. Like, a 20-month-old couldn't have escaped on his own.
No.
You know, so it would have been extra hard because you don't know when he was taken, and that property is so large.
During the search, a ransom note demanding $50,000 was found resting on the nursery windowsill. Local police were contacted, followed shortly by the New Jersey State Police, who took control of the investigation. Investigators examining the nursery discovered muddy footprints beneath the open window, though the impressions were too distorted to measure accurately. Mud was also tracked across the nursery floor. Outside the window, a homemade ladder was found in sections.
A homemade ladder?
A homemade ladder. This person homemade a fucking ladder.
Okay, so they were about business.
2 pieces had been used to reach the window, and one section was cracked where it connected to another, suggested it had broken during use. No blood was found in or around the nursery, and no usable fingerprints were recovered. Authorities questioned household staff and estate workers extensively. Colonel Lindbergh enlisted friends to attempt indirect communication with the kidnappers and publicly appealed for negotiations to begin. Known criminal figures were contracted in hopes of establishing a connection, but leads came and went without resolution. On March 6, 1932, Colonel Lindbergh received a second ransom letter, postmarked Brooklyn on March 4th, increasing the demand to $70,000, which is a lot of fucking money.
That was a lot in the 30s. That's a lot now, but that was like a lot in the 30s. I wonder what that is, what that translates to today.
In response, the governor of New Jersey convened a high-level conference in Trenton involving prosecutors, law enforcement leaders, and government officials to discuss investigative strategies. Colonel Lindbergh's attorney, Colonel Henry Breckinridge, also retained private investigators. And then a third ransom letter arrived on March 8th. What?
$1.36 million today.
Oh, that's a lot. A third ransom letter arrived on March 8th at Breckinridge's office, stating the kidnappers would not accept an intermediary chosen by the Lindberghs and instructing them to place a message in a newspaper. That same day, Dr. John F. Condon, a retired Bronx school principal, publicly offered his services in the Bronx Home News as a go-between and pledged an additional $1,000 of his own money. The following day, Dr. Condon received the fourth ransom note confirming that he was acceptable as an intermediary. They're like, okay, we like you. We pick you. Mm-hmm. With Lindbergh's approval, Condon accepted the role. Around March 10th, he obtained the $70,000 ransom and began corresponding with the kidnappers through newspaper ads using the alias Jaycee.
Alias,
what'd I say?
Elias.
Oh, alias. I'm just reading, man.
What?
She says, scritch my butt, bitch. She says, scritch me. On March 12th at roughly 8:30 p.m., Dr. Condon received the fifth ransom note after an anonymous phone call. The note was delivered by taxi driver Joseph Perrin, who had received it from an unidentified man. It directed Condon to retrieve another message hidden beneath a stone near a subway station.
What do you want?
She's like, I want you to scratch my back.
What do you want? I gotta scratch my back.
That sixth note led Condon to Woodlawn Cemetery, where he met a man identifying himself as John. The two discussed ransom terms, and John promised proof of the child's identity. Condon was protected by a bodyguard nearby, but met John alone. In the days that followed, Condon continued placing advertisements urging further contact. On March 16th, Dr. Condon received a baby sleeping garment along with a seventh ransom note.
Golly.
The clothing was delivered to Lindbergh and positively identified. Additional advertisements followed. And then an eighth ransom letter arrived on March 21st, warning that the kidnapping had been planned for a year and demanding full compliance. Jesus. They said, we planned this bitch for a year. So we want your full compliance.
Yeah.
On March 29th, Nurse Betty Gow discovered the child's thumb guard near the estate entrance. The next day, Condon received a ninth ransom note, threatening to raise the demand to $100,000 and rejecting coded communication. And then a 10th letter on April 1st instructed him to have the money ready. Condon replied through the press. On April 12th, an 11th note was delivered by an unidentified cab driver, directing Condon to find the 12th note beneath a stone outside a greenhouse in the Bronx.
This is too much of a fucking...
I know!
Too much.
That same evening, following the 12th note's instructions, Condon met John again and negotiated the ransom down to $50,000. The money was handed over in exchange for a receipt and a 13th note claiming the child could be found aboard a boat named Nellie near Martha's Vineyard. John then disappeared into nearby woods.
Okay.
Subsequent searches in the area failed to locate the child. Condon remained confident he could identify John if he saw him again. On May 12th, 1932, the child's body was discovered accidentally by William Allen, an assistant on a delivery truck, about 4.5 miles southeast of the Lindbergh home near Mount Rose, New Jersey.
Assuming he probably was dead that whole time.
Probably. The remains were partially buried and severely decomposed, with significant injuries to the skull and missing body parts.
Oh, God.
Identification was confirmed, and the body was cremated in Trenton on May 13th.
That's a whole ass baby. That's a fucking baby, man.
The coroner concluded the child had been dead approximately 2 months and died from a fatal blow to the head.
Oh, God. So, yeah, been dead since he was kidnapped.
He was pretty much been dead this entire fucking time, and they've just been playing with them.
Yep.
So, from 1934 was the investigation. On March 2nd, 1932, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover contacted New Jersey State Police Superintendent Colonel H. Norman Schwarzkopf. Following discussions with the Attorney General, Hoover formally offered the FBI's assistance, though jurisdiction initially remained with the state. The Bureau's New York City office coordinated closely with New Jersey and New York authorities. For several weeks, the FBI served in a supporting role. On May 13th, 1932, the president offered all federal investigative agencies to assist New Jersey, designating the FBI as a central coordinating body.
Okay.
On May 23rd, the FBI alerted New York area banks to monitor for ransom money. 3 days later, New Jersey announced a reward up to $25,000 for information leading to the kidnapper's arrest and conviction, with the FBI distributing the notice nationwide. On June 10, 1932, Violet Sharp, a household employee connected to Anne Lindbergh's mother, died by suicide while under investigation.
Oh, wow.
Authorities later confirmed she had no involvement in the crime.
Oh, okay.
She probably just felt super bad.
I mean, did they specify that she killed herself over the situation, or she just killed herself?
She just killed herself.
Okay.
While under investigation, I guess.
Crazy.
In September 1933, President Franklin D. Roosevelt ordered all federal investigative work centralized under the Department of Justice.
FDR.
By October, the FBI was granted exclusive federal jurisdiction. The recall of gold certificates proved crucial, as much of the ransom had been paid in that form. Banks and businesses nationwide were instructed to remain vigilant.
Vigilante.
In the early 1934, the FBI circulated pamphlets listing serial numbers of ransom bills to banks, retailers, post offices, gas stations, and other businesses, later supplementing them with quick reference cards.
Okay.
Reports of ransom money sightings were consolidated among agencies to ensure immediate joint investigations. Investigators were inundated with false leads, hoaxes, and fraudulent claims, all of which had to be painstakingly examined.
Yeah, that fucking sucks. I hate when people do that shit. Like, if you don't really have the information, shut the fuck up and let people who have real information get it to the police officers, because they're wasting time on false leads where they could actually be doing something important.
One major fraud involved Gaston B. Means, who convinced socialite Evelyn Walsh McLean he could recover the child, ultimately defrauding her of $100,000.
What the fuck?
Means was later convicted and sentenced to 15 years. His accomplice received a 2-year sentence. Thousands of leads were investigated nationwide, including rumors involving the Detroit Purple Gang.
What?
The Purple Gang.
The Barney Gang? Or like...
Where they wear purple.
Okay, so Barney, yeah. Okay,
I guess that's what they do. I don't know.
I love you.
You love me. They got Barney looking fucked up now. I don't like the new Barney look.
He's too skinny.
He is.
He got healthy.
He's
trying to live his best life.
And he's tiny. And exhaustive searches for the boat Nellie. Cemetery records, criminal photographs, and handwriting samples were analyzed extensively.
You said cemetery records?
Uh-huh.
What is that? Like death certificates or?
I guess, or workers. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
On May 2nd, 1933, nearly $3,000 in ransom gold certificates were discovered at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, traced to a deposit made under the name J.J. Faulkner, who was never identified.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Handwriting experts concluded all ransom notes were written by the same individual, likely of German origin.
How do they come up with that?
Dr. Condon described John as a Scandinavian in appearance and assisted in creating a composite sketch, because I guess how they talk, I guess. Dr. Condon later recorded detailed reenactments of his conversations with John, preserving speech patterns and accents for analysis. The latter used in the kidnapping became a focal point. Wood expert Arthur Coiler of the U.S. Forest Service analyzes its construction, identifying tool marks and wood types, finding that later proved pivotal.
Okay.
For months, no ransom gold surfaced. Then, beginning in August 1934, certificates began appearing in Harlem and Yorkville. Investigators tracked the movement of bills on a map, focusing on gold certificates passed at small neighborhood businesses.
Okay.
On September 18th, 1934, a gas station attendant recorded a suspicious license plate after receiving a gold certificate. The vehicle was registered to Bruno Richard Hauptmann of the Bronx.
Okay.
Authorities surveyed Hopton's home overnight. The next morning, he was arrested.
Okay.
A ransom bill was found on him, and more were later recovered from his garage.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Hopton matched witness descriptions, was identified by Perrone and Dr. Condon, and possessed items purchased with ransom money. Handwriting analysis confirmed matches to ransom notes. He closely resembled the composite image of John.
Okay.
Further investigation revealed Hopton was a German carpenter with a criminal past
Okay.
who had entered the U.S. illegally.
Oh, okay.
After the kidnapping, he ceased working and began trading stocks.
Okay.
Hopton was indicted for extortion in New York and murder in New Jersey in late 1934. He was later extradited to New Jersey to stand trial.
Okay.
The trial began January 3rd, 1935, lasting 5 weeks. Evidence included matching wood from his attic, tool marks on the ladder, handwriting analysis, and incriminating notes found in his home.
Okay.
On February 13th, 1935, the jury found Hopton guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to death.
Good.
Appeals were denied at both the state and federal levels. After temporary reprieve, clemency was refused.
Good.
So, on April 3rd, 1936, at 8:47 p.m., Bruno Richard Hopton was executed
Good.
by electrocution.
Nice.
Die,
I like the ones that
motherfucker.
don't take long.
Die, motherfucker, die!
That's wild.
And the fact that that poor baby...
That whole family, like, what the fuck?
The fact that that baby was dead the entire fucking
The entire
time.
time. Wild. That sucks. Like, and it was just because that he was famous.
Mm-hmm.
They knew they had money.
Mm-hmm. And they just wanted to get away and have some peace and quiet.
Right.
And look what fucking happened.
Right. I don't understand why people do shit like that. Like, I'll never get it. Like, fucking ever. Oh, man. Okay, so that was another long one. I think our next one's going to be pretty short.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. So thank you guys for sticking around. We love you. Thank you for your support. You can further support us at Patreon, patreon.com/hauntedandhomicidal. You can find us on Facebook. I am going to try to link the Audible book. It is free for Jaycee Dugard. And then the weird little FBI bullshit that Philip put out. It's weird.
How long was that? Oh, yeah, 4 pages.
Yeah. It's weird. Well, it's like a little longer. Like the PDF is longer because it also shows like the affidavits that he had that he provided also. So it's kind of like all of it together.
Yeah.
Then if you guys have any suggestions or topics you want us to talk about or experiences of your own, you can email us at hauntedandhomicidal@gmail.com. Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.